We are all scared of something, right? Spiders, snakes, failure, something. We're all scared of something. Even you. Dude, I can hear you out there. You're saying, I ain't scared of anything. Yes, you are. Boo! See? I told you. Some of this can be applied to fantasy football too, because every single year, there's some studs that are pretty freaking terrifying to draft. In the past few years, we've had guys like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill. The list goes on and on. But who are a few of those scary players, those scary studs here in 2023? That's what we're talking about here today. But just a quick reminder, our draft guide for 2023 fantasy football is available for pre-order right now at thefantasyheadliners.com. Link down below in the description. If you want yours for free, you can do that. Also, sign up for a new account on Underdog Fantasy using the referral code Headliners. When you do so, make that initial $10 deposit. We'll match your deposit all the way up to $100. Plus, you get a free draft guide, you get entered into a giveaway from something from my office, and you get to play with us all year long. Going to be a lot of fun. And plus, that draft, that's a $21.99 value right there that you're going to get for $10. I mean, great deal right there through Underdog Fantasy. Appreciate them this year. But now let's talk about these players that have me terrified. And the first one up, I hate to say it, I love this guy. It's Kenneth Walker. But this isn't a Kenneth Walker issue. I've been pumped up for this guy ever since the 2023 offseason started. This is a trust issue between me and Pete Carroll, head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. The dude just couldn't contain himself to go into the 2023 season with Kenneth Walker being that bell cow running back in Seattle. He spent a second-round pick on running back Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA. Now, this guy's been the off-season darling of a lot of people that talk fantasy football here on YouTube. He's a running back that's capable of playing all three downs, who had more than 1,300 total yards in each of his last two seasons in college, and had 39 touchdowns over his 40-game college career. And it's not like Zach Charbonnet was some day 3 pick. He was selected in the second round, just like Kenneth Walker was last year in 2022. Oh yeah. And they arguably added the best wide receiver in the draft as well in Jackson Smith-Njigba, so you know they're going to continue to throw the ball a lot in Seattle. Now, many people had this dude pegged as a second-round pick in fantasy football here in 2023, but and now a potential split backfield with a running back that can vulture touchdowns, increased weapons in the passing game, it has me absolutely terrified for Kenneth Walker. I am pumping the brakes, and I may not look his way to like the 3rd or 4th round in 2023. The problem is he probably won't be there at that time. I actually look at other guys around him, maybe even after him, like Najee Harris, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aaron Jones, that are in a similar area that I would rather have at this point instead of potentially being caught with my pants down because Kenneth Walker is in a split backfield and I wasted a very, very early pick on him in fantasy football. It has me terrified, and I hate to say that. What about another running back? Another guy who I have absolutely loved. I have been beating the drum for Tony Pollard here for multiple years. I just don't know if I can do it now. I'm terrified. I mean, do you remember last year? I had him in a video calling him a must-have guy. I was telling people in fantasy football last year that you had to draft Tony Pollard, and it paid off for everyone who listened. But this year, not the same story for me. Sure, Zeke is gone. On the surface, that sounds great. But all along, I've been saying that the key to success for Tony Pollard is having Ezekiel Elliott or another running back like that in the mix. It's what made Pollard what he was. He isn't meant to be some every down back every single week. That's not the role that makes him excel. And you can see that last year, right? He only had 2 games all year long in which he played over 60% of the offensive snaps. Now, we don't want this guy to be the early down running back every single week. We don't want him running between the tackles week after week. He'll wear down. And we haven't even mentioned that he's coming off a pretty major injury, right? A broken leg. He broke his fibula and had a pretty serious high ankle sprain that ended his 2022 season. And not to mention, he's also coming off a career high in touches with 232. Now the Cowboys have added Deuce Vaughn, and that is also somewhat worrisome. Pollard had a career high 55 targets last season. Does he lose some of those to the speedy running back Deuce Vaughn out of the backfield? They've also added Brandon Cooks in the passing game. We know the Dallas Cowboys are going to throw a lot. They always do. They're having to play all 17 games every single year because they're usually fighting for a playoff spot and having to throw the ball a lot. This one for me comes down to draft price though. Right now, in some leagues, he is projected as a late first round, early second round pick in 2023. That is a little bit too high for me. Some of the running backs that are going after him that I prefer right now, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson. I'm worried that Tony Pollard's price tag has just gotten too expensive. Which will then take me to a couple wide receivers. What about DEEBO Samuel? Now listen, I know everyone wants 2021 DEEBO back. I'm kind of one of those people as well, but we've been getting a lot of comments about DEEBO Samuel. You know, a lot of people expecting that bounce back with the improved quarterback play, whoever that may be, in 2023. But really, 2021 was just the perfect storm DEEBO explosion, right? They had to utilize him in the running game. They don't have to do that anymore. They have Christian McCaffrey. They have Elijah Mitchell, and they have the run game and short passing game, the checkdowns. They got that on lock in San Francisco. Not to mention the current quarterbacks like to utilize the likes of George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk a lot more as well. But the facts remain this. He's never played a full season. He misses a lot of time. He's only had over 100 touches one time in a season. He's only gone over 1,000 total yards one time in a season and has only gone over 6 touchdowns total one time in his career. His numbers last year were really on par for the first few years of his career. It really makes 2021 like a crazy outlier. I mentioned the quarterback play a little bit earlier. We still don't know if it's going to be Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, one of the 3 quote-unquote future franchise quarterbacks here of the San Francisco 49ers. This offense is super balanced. They have enough to spread the ball around every single week. It's why at times last year we saw Juwan Jennings even have some good weeks in this offense. But the kicker here is he's still borderline top 15 at the wide receiver position. And right now, I'm more likely to go with the likes of Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, maybe even Terry McLaurin, who are all going later than him in drafts, and I believe have a similar floor and potentially higher upside. And I hate to say that because I do love myself some DEEBO Samuel. Love watching the guy play football. But what about Mike Evans? Another guy who has been on a lot of winning rosters over the last few years, but as of late, have owners kind of scratching their head a little bit. I'm including him just because of how consistent he's been over his career, despite at times having below average quarterback play. He started his career with 9 straight seasons, over 1,000 yards receiving. But the fact is, right now, we're reliant on Baker Mayfield in this offense with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, Rachaad White. There's rumors of Zeke signing there as well. An offensive line that really underperformed in 2022, and we've seen Baker in this style of offense before with multiple big-name studs at his disposal, and it didn't quite go so well for him in Cleveland. As consistent as Evans has been, he's not one of those overly huge performers, right? He's only had over 80 catches in a season, 2 of the 9 seasons he's played, and only gone over 1,200 yards receiving in 3 of the 9 seasons he's played. Over the last few years, he's become really reliant on that deep ball down the field. He really always has been a 50-50 type guy. Deep balls can get Baker in trouble from time to time, though, and won't happen as successfully as maybe we've seen the past couple years when Tom Brady was the quarterback, but the price here is not terrifying. Right now, he's wide receiver 30 overall, which sounds absolutely great. But the comments about Evans that I've been seeing in videos scream to me that a lot of people are looking at name value over real value and boosting this guy up draft boards when really he shouldn't be boosted up that much. No way do I reach for Mike Evans in fantasy football this year. If he ends up to be my wide receiver 3 on my roster, my wide receiver 4, I am a happy man. If he's my number 1 or number 2 wide receiver, I am terrified, and I'm worried people may make that mistake just based off of name value. But are you terrified of these same 4 guys? Is there someone else on your list that you're pretty terrified to draft in 2023? Do me a favor, hit the like button if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below with one player that you are terrified to draft in 2023. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day and do your part to make the world a better place.